what the black man and woman needs to know about the nation, about the world, about themselves. Muhammad Speaks It. To order your 12-issue subscription to Muhammad Speaks newspaper, 313-371-7033. 313-371-7033. Kareem Bean Pie is the grand champion of all bean pies. The rich flavor and smooth texture takes this pie to a whole new level of delicious. One bite and you'll understand why people all over the country call daily to order Kareem Bean Pie. 313-371-7033. That's 313-371-7033. Kareem Bean Pie.
This bean pie is delicious.
Muhammad Speaks presents Messenger Elijah Muhammad's Teachings by Minister Khalil Shabazz every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. at Muhammad's Temple of Islam, 12609 East McNichols Road in Detroit.
Brothers and sisters, we ask for prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent and Merciful, sole Master's dear judgment in which we now live. The alone do we serve, and the alone seek for thine help and aid. O Allah, please guide us on the right path, path of those upon whom thou spell thy favors, not on the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray after they heard thy teachings. Say he, Allah is one God. Allah is he of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten, there is none like him. And I bear witness that none is heard to be served, worship or praise besides Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was our true servant and last apostle. Ameen. We'd like to acknowledge the brothers and sisters that extended us the greetings of Assalamu Alaikum. We have Brother Jeffrey Shabazz from North Carolina. We have Sister Hala Brooks from California. We have Brother Kareem Muhammad from Northfield, North Carolina. And we have Brother Dawood Ali from Baltimore. We have Brother Tracy Young from Illinois. And we have Minister Kamal and Captain Hakeem from Richmond. I'd like to say in the name of Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, and in the name of his last and greatest messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'd like to greet the brothers and sisters with the Nation of Islam's greeting words of peace of Assalamu Alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Today we'd like to talk about Bishop Nathaniel, Envies, Elijah Muhammad. Because these characteristics of hypocrites, disbelievers, envious people is not really talked about a lot in the new school Nation of Islam. Because we have so many hypocrites in the top spot that these characteristics of these people that people used to teach on so frequently never gets talked about. So we're going to talk about more today. This is a picture, or this was shared on Facebook 2 days ago. This is the Oklahoma City IUIC having a sit down with the Oklahoma brothers in the Nation of Islam. These the same brothers who told IUIC that I'm a fake Muslim. Now they having, it says IUIC Oklahoma City had a sit down with the Nation of Islam to discuss how to make a change in our community. So let's go to the first article that I want to read. This is written by Minister Yusuf Shah, Temper number 2, and this was part 2. This is called Haters of Muhammad. He says, as I recall reading that article, Messenger Muhammad wrote on hypocrites and disbelievers. Messenger Muhammad wrote that a hypocrite is far more dangerous than your open enemy, the devil. Let's talk about that first. Because Bust Stop Bishop brags about how he used to be in the Nation of Islam. And he talks about how he saw that the Nation of Islam does not teach the truth, so he left. So that makes him a hypocrite.
Yes, that's what he is.
All praise is due to Allah. So the messenger says that a hypocrite is worse than the white man, our enemy, the devil. A hypocrite is far worse. Now let's go on with what he says. He says, as I recall reading an article Messenger Muhammad wrote on hypocrites and disbelievers, Messenger Muhammad wrote that a hypocrite is far more dangerous than your open enemy, the devil, white man. For a hypocrite seeks to learn that about you which will hurt you by your enemies. They always hope evil for you. They claim brotherhood and friendship with you to hurt you. That's what hypocrites do. Yes. This is why the messenger did not teach us all this old my black brother stuff. Right. He didn't teach us that. He taught us that the black man is our brother by nature. But he taught us about hypocrites, disbelievers, envious people. He taught us about all that. Because we must, as we build a nation, we must know that it's going to be people who are going to show false friendship to us. That's right. We got to know that it's going to be people who is going to be jealous and envious of the messenger. So if they jealous and envious of the messenger, they're jealous and envious of his followers. That's right. So he says that a hypocrite, it says they always hope evil for you. They claim brotherhood and friendship with you to hurt you. Messenger Muhammad and his followers at the present time honeycomb with such rotten characters of whom the believers must be aware of. They make friends with the new believers and invest their lying, deceitful poison in them like a snake. This is what hypocrites do. Yes, sir. Hypocrites pretend to be your friend. Now this hypocrite, Bus Stop Bishop, he is far more open with his hypocrisy of the messenger than people used to be before him. Because he now has just openly shows his disagreement with the messenger when he shares his stuff on Facebook. This is a video that IUIC made, and it says Muhammad never taught any prophecies. IUIC, they let it be known, and then they put the messenger's picture in the thumbnail. That's a hypocrite. Yes. Because when the messenger was alive, hypocrites like Bus Stop Bishop had to be more discreet with their hypocrisy. You couldn't just put the messenger's picture on something back then and say Muhammad never taught us prophecy. Because for one, Muslims was teaching people what a hypocrite and a disbeliever, the characteristics. So you in the temple looking at believers like, do he fit the characteristics of a hypocrite? Right. Because the messenger also taught us what a true friend is. Let's talk, because this article, Haters of Muhammad, is in the February 9th, 1973, Muhammad Speaks. So let's go to the messenger when he taught us what a true friend is. This comes from the March 12th, 1965, Muhammad Speaks. And this says, Progress of the Faithful. It says chapter 5, verse 55, 56, and 57. And it's the footnote 711 and 712. It says, only Allah is your friend and his messenger and those who believe. Those who keep up prayer and pay the poor rate, and they bow down. So the footnote 711 says, after warning the weak-hearted against taking their enemies for friends, the Holy Quran now tells them who is their real friend who can help them in their distresses and difficulties. Allah is really the only friend of a believer. Only he can come to his help in time of need. But there was God's messenger among them. And if God was a believer's true friend, so was his messenger, whose heart was full of sincere sympathy for the true believers.
Yes, sir.
So that's what the messenger taught us. So back in the day, Bus Stop Bishop couldn't be so open with his hypocrisy to the messenger. He would not go in the open in public and say, I used to be in the Nation of Islam. I used to do this and because when you look at all the hypocrites in 1964, that's the best year. I think 1964 to 1965 is one of the best years for believers to study. Mm-hmm. That's one of the best years. Yes. Because I'm not one of the Muslims that's going to say the Nation of Islam had nothing to do with the death of Malcolm. You will never hear me say that. Never. Only thing you will hear me say is when them brothers that day, for however long them brothers was actually in that autobiography, that part. Muslims ain't had nothing to do with that part. But all the other stuff, them was Muslims. Message say my followers don't care. So that part, Muslims ain't had nothing to do with that. Right. But when you go look at all of the hypocrites in 1964 that was mud washing the messenger, you had the messenger's sons. It was Akbar. It was Wallace. It was the messenger's grandson. I think his name was Hassan. You had Malcolm. You had, it was several brothers who left the Nation of Islam. Then you have articles that was written in the newspaper where Malcolm was telling the Muslims he had followers inside of the temple. So then you had brothers finding them, whooping their head. 1964 was a very interesting year. Yes, sir. But the messenger taught us the characteristics of hypocrites, the characteristics of disbelievers, and the characteristics of envious people. Because we are building a nation. You have all different types of people who are going to come in the nation, who are going to be around the nation, that we must know the characteristics of these people. Yes. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad goes on to teach us. He has an article that is called Envy. Yes, sir. Another article where the messenger is teaching us about the characteristics of these people who are envious and jealous of him. This is what he says. He says jealousy among our own people caused them to oppose us. They cannot do the things which Allah God is causing us to do. Therefore, they envy us in what we are doing. Mm-hmm. That's what the black man needs to know even today. Yes. Because the record of the black man is etched in, or the messenger is etched in stone. That's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, I will be the winner whether I'm living or dead. That's right. All praise is due to Allah. Because his history is etched in stone. Now let's talk or give examples of what does the messenger mean when he says they cannot do the things which Allah God is causing us to do. Therefore, they envy us in what we are doing. Let's give an example of that. Let's talk about a brother whose name is Robert Vowles. This comes from the April 28th, 1971 Pittsburgh Carrier. And it says, questions Nixon's sincerity. It says, Atlanta professor scores aid to black capitalists. It says, a black consultant to the National Advisory Council on Minority Enterprise has questioned the sincerity of President Nixon's #1 campaign pitch to black capitalism. He says the economic programs of the Nation of Islam black Muslims were among those cited by Viles as successful black programs which could serve as useful guides to the federal government. Yet, he said, the Muslims have never been sought to provide expertise for black economic programs. He says, moreover, black programs such as Muslims have had to fight harassment to be successful, Viles says. Muslim cattle in Alabama have been victims of poisonings twice since 1969, he points out. To the Muslims, whites are devils. In this particular case, the whites were running true to form, he says. So this is a brother who is, it says, a black consultant to the National Advisory Council on Minority Enterprise. What is that? This is on the government website called mbda.gov. And that's Minority Business Development Association. It says in 1969, President Nixon signed Executive Order 11458 creating OMBE and the Advisory Council for Minority Business Enterprise. So this was actually a government agency. The first president or leader that they had from 1969 to 1970 was a white man named Thomas Rosner. But in 1971, it says President Nixon signed Executive Order 11625 and expands the scope of MBDA and its minority business programs by authorizing grants to public and private organizations to provide technical and management assistance to minority business enterprises. So this happened in 1961 or 71. Richard Nixon expands on this minority business stuff he was talking. Start giving out grants and all this other nonsense that he was talking about in 1971. So the black man, which his name is Robert Viles, he said if Richard Nixon was sincere in what he talking about, he would call the Muslims. He would ask Elijah Muhammad about his successful program because they way more successful than any black group in America. So if Nixon was sincere, why has he not sought after the Muslims? This is something that we must remember even until today.
That's right.
Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that God came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. July 4th, 1930. He said he is the long-awaited Savior. He said that he chose him to resurrect the mentally dead black man.
Yes, sir.
That's what the messenger taught. He told us you can accept it or you can reject it. He said accept it and live, reject it and die. Just as simple as that. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was so successful that black people began to notice his success. They always compared the messenger to other black groups. They always realized that his economic program for the black man is the best.
That's right.
So you had a lot of black groups that began to be jealous of the messenger. So they start trying to take the messenger's successful programs and start adding it to theirs. This is why the messenger taught us about jealous and envious people. Because the messenger, let's go to this article. This is another article written by the messenger, explaining to the black man where he got his teachings from. Because this is one of the main things that we must remember when we talking about Bus Stop Bishop. Because this article was written October 25th, 1963. It says, Muhammad on self-defense, defend truth at all costs. The messenger says unity of own kind. And it says time of decision. All these various topics that the messenger covering that nobody else was talking about. The messenger telling us self-defense. Because this was during the time the black man thought turning the other cheek was something that we should do. We should love the devil. We should love our enemy. We should turn the other cheek. Then the messenger says defend the truth at all costs. He says unity of our own kind. Yes. This was something that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was doing all by himself. He was the only black leader telling the black man we need to unite among our own kind. He wasn't saying we need to just unite with Muslims. He wasn't saying like the Christians think we need to just unite with the Christians. Or like the black Jew think we need to just unite with the black Jew. The messenger says our own kind. That means our own kind in America and our own kind abroad. That was the messenger's teachings. Because the messenger taught us that this is a universal war. He didn't say that this was just a war that's going on in America. He says the war of Armageddon is a universal war. That's right. So he said we must join on with our own kind. Yes, sir. So the messenger, in this article, he says you must know that the solution to this problem is a divine one, of which I have been missioned by God in the person to deliver to you. We must accept Allah to save and deliver us. We just have not the power to overcome the power of this wicked world of the devils. He says, I hope you will remember this and what you witnessed today of the world of black and white. He says, hurry and join unto your own kind. The time of this world is at hand. So he making it crystal clear to us. We got to accept Allah. Yeah. He not saying it like, oh, I just got a program that I just came up with and y'all need to accept my program because I'm the messenger. He said no. He said the solution to the problem is divine. Yeah. The messenger taught us that. Yeah. We didn't even know we had a problem. The messenger, the first one that taught the black man, you got a serious problem. Right. Your problem's so bad. He said the black man must be re-educated. That's the messenger's teachings. Yes. The messenger is the one who taught us. No one person can rise above the condition of his people. That's right. That's the messenger's teachings. Yes. The messenger taught us a nation can rise no higher than its woman. Yes, sir. That was the messenger's teachings. Mm-hmm. He taught us the very basic, simple teachings of civilization. He taught us how to eat. He taught us that the hog is 99.99% poison. He told us that the hog was grafted for medical purposes for the white race. These are basic principles of civilization. Because the messenger told us we must be re-educated. Black people used to laugh at the messenger. They used to listen to the messenger tell us knowledge of self. And they thought that was funny. The messenger telling us that our names chain us to the white race. They thought that was funny. The messenger say a good name is better than gold. He told us that the names of the white race will not last forever. Right. But he told us that the names of Allah is his divine attributes. And he said that the black man should be called by names of Allah.
That's right.
That's the messenger's teachings.
Yes.
So all these other black groups listening to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, now they jealous of the messenger because they know he's telling the truth. But they wish that God would have chose them to tell the black man the truth. So instead of them joining on with the messenger, they began to become envious of the messenger. Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it was a book that I read. It was talking about how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was the first man in documented history in America to use the phrase Black United Front. Just to show you how envious and jealous black people was of the messenger. He said he used this term in 1958 Savior's Day. He had the convention. He had the newspaper. He said the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was the first man in America in documented history to use the term Black United Front. But he talked about how when the history books is written, they usually associated this black front with the Black Power movement. They don't associate that with the messenger, even though he was the one who first started saying it. He was the first one to start to practice it. Yes. Black people wasn't talking about no Black United Front. This is a picture. This comes from a website or a YouTube page that's called Alpha and Omega Ministries. These is Christians. Because even the Christians are starting to come out with videos attacking the Hebrew Israelites. While the Nation of Islam don't have no videos. But even the Christians getting tired of the Israelites. So they got a video that says Judaism's influence on Hebrew Israelites. This is a picture of bus stop bishop's man called Abba Bivens. Y'all gonna hear that name a lot coming from this rostrum. This is bus stop bishop's man Abba Bivens. All the bus stop Bible babblers come from him. This is a picture shared by the Christians showing him at a bar mitzvah. Showing him with his little prayer shawl on. Showing him be a Jew like the white man was a Jew. No objections to Judaism at all. They wasn't interpreting the New Testament. They wasn't going out talking to the black man at all. But they was listening to the messenger. They was looking at him. They didn't want to join him. They getting jealous of the messenger. Because the messenger told us that Cain was jealous of Abel.
That's right.
He was jealous of him. That was his blood, brother. That's what bus stop bishop and them people looking at the messenger talking all this lost sheep talk. Talking all this unite with your own kind talk. Talking about the so-called American Negro as the chosen of God. Not a Jew.
Right.
The messenger wasn't telling us that it was a pie in the sky like the Christians talking. Like Jesus coming. The messenger said that our heaven is right here on this earth.
That's right.
That's what the messenger taught. He said we want something that we could call our own. The messenger taught us that. So you had all of these people getting jealous and envious of the messenger. So instead of them joining the messenger, they formed their own group. The first ones to form a group was the Black Power, the Black Panthers, and the Black Militants. They the first ones that really started to try to pick up the messenger's militant programs. Like the FOI stuff. We gonna start marching and drilling and standing with our guns in formation. That's what they took. So they used to have all these Black Power conventions, taking the messenger's program but wouldn't even invite the Muslims. This the history, because the white man was writing about it. They had the first Black Power convention was in 1967. They didn't invite no Muslims. Then they had another one in 72. All that the messenger said, we need to unite with anybody can come to the Nation of Islam's meeting. Anybody. black people, you had Christians, you had Muslims, you had Sunnis, you had gangsters, you got pimps, prostitutes. Everybody can come. But when they start stealing the messenger's teachings, they have conventions and don't even invite him. But he was the most successful. So the messenger said he would have these people come to his house. Because one time he had on Savior's Day. He said, I want all the preachers who came to stand up. He looked, there was only a few preachers. He's like, what you mean? Like, this all the preachers? He said, you got to come to me before I come to you. This is the messenger I got the best program. Right. This should be full of preachers. If I invite a preacher, all preachers need to come. Right. Because I'm the messenger of God. I remember one time the messenger was taught, because the stuff the messenger used to say used to surprise me a lot. Because I used to be convinced with all my black brother stuff. I thought the messenger, oh, the black man, oh, brother. One time I heard him say, I guess he was getting tired of black people rejecting him. He was like, I've been building heaven for you for I know it was over 30 years, he was saying. He said, I got the key to your heaven and your hell. He said, if you reject me, he said, I pray to Allah, he put you in the middle of hell. Yes, sir. He said, not on the outskirts. He said, right in the middle of hell. Yes, sir. That's what he was saying to black people. Because he said, I've been building heaven for you for over 40 years, and you still reject me. You still reject me while you copying me. You don't want to help me, but you reject me and become envious and jealous of this work that I've been doing for over 4. I pray to Allah that he will put you in the middle of hell. So these people, we must realize that they still exist today. Yes. So the messenger goes on to teach us about these jealous and envious people. He says jealousy among our own people causes them to oppose us. They cannot do the things which Allah God is causing us to do. Therefore, they envy us in what we are doing. So we have not only a wicked opposer, who is one born enemy by nature, the white people. So they not just only our enemies. We also have black enemies. The white man is not the only one who opposes the black man. Right. The black man opposes us too. Oh, yes. So he goes on to say, he says, black brother, I do not guide myself. It is Allah God, Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever, who guides me. He says, today is the closing of the book of the prophets. There are no more prophets coming after me. Of course, you do not believe that I am one, and I am not a prophet. Prophets stop with my mission, for I am the one who has met with Allah, and I have been taught directly from his very mouth, as Moses was. It is wicked for the black man of America to envy the progress of me. It's evil for a black man to envy the progress of the messenger. Because the only way you can come to the messenger is either you coming to accept your own and be a registered Muslim, or you come as a sympathizer. Sympathizer means you believe the messenger's program is the best for the black man, but you're not ready to accept your own yet. That's what it means to be a sympathizer. All other people are jealous and envious of the messenger. All other people are jealous and envious of the messenger. That's right. So when you see them, because we still gonna treat you nice. When you see these people coming in with all these different groups, all these different philosophies, oh, how you doing, brother? come on in. We check them, we be nice to them, we don't trust them. We don't trust them at all. Because we thinking in our mind, if you know about the messenger, why you ain't joining on with it? Right. I'm just one of them Muslims that's going to give it to you straight up. I don't want nobody to come here and think we just trust you because you black. You being watched. Right. Messengers say don't watch them one time. Watch them all the time. That's what the messenger said, and that's exactly what we do. Soon as we see you, we watching you. We might be smiling. We might shake your hand. We might tell you come back next week, but we watching you. We don't trust you. Messengers say check them all. Messengers say when you put a brother on the post as a captain, he said you don't just put him on the post and go to your office and put your foot up on the desk. He said you gotta watch to see if he carry out what you tell him to do. He said because you could be putting a hypocrite on the door. That's the messenger's teachings. Ain't no old my black brother. When we sit and look at these black groups who jealous and envious of them, we don't trust you. We look at a black Hebrew Israelite, giving it to you straight. We know you are deaf, dumb, and blind black brother, but we don't trust you. We look at you and say you was doing bar mitzvahs. You was wearing yarmulkes. You thought the white man was a part of your nation just like you. Now here you come. See, you can only do this with a hypocrite. Now IUIC think they about to tell us what's going on. That's a hypocrite. Yes. How do you think that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad could build all that he built that everybody saw? Because when this brother came out, let's continue with this brother. When he came out with this was in the Pittsburgh Carrier. Then there was another article of him in Jet Magazine. Then this brother wrote a letter to the messenger. Let's read what he wrote to the messenger. This says, black or business expert sees Muhammad as leader. This was in the December 10th, 1971, Muhammad speaks. He says, I am unsure as to what leadership may mean to Roseberry, but in terms of getting blacks to do something for themselves and feel a sense of accomplishment in doing so, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has to be seriously considered in the leadership term. Now, the one thing that I also want people to recognize, this brother don't believe in the teachings of the messenger, but he refers to him as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He didn't say Elijah Poole like Bus Stop, because Bus Stop now can show his hatred for the messenger. He can openly show it now. But black people who are sincerely trying to do something for the black man saw the messenger. And they said, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Yes. So let's go on even further. He says, I am sure that any objective critique of the nation's leadership will confirm my belief that Mr. Muhammad is the black leadership. Let me elaborate just briefly on this matter to which I have devoted some thought. He says, as an economist and writer on black economic development, my research suggests that the nation is doing what many black and non-black groups would like to do. My opinion is based on long observation and analysis of the nation's economic programs. And of course, I am quite familiar with other black economic development projects. Except for the nation's economic development program, a few others, most of the black economic development programs are simply games being played on black people. Most often these other programs are poorly conceived, undercapitalized, and horribly managed. In particularly every case, however, they are financed by the federal government and foundations. These financial sources themselves tend to have low expectations of the very programs they finance. That was deep. I was like, dang, never thought about that. When the white man Nixon coming up, he don't even expect it to be successful. He just come up with something so the niggas can feel like I'm the first African American to do this. I'm the first this to do that. But this brother who is an expert, because this brother was, I forget what college, I think Atlanta University. He was over the business department in Atlanta University. So he looking at all of these projects that's coming out for the black man. He said most of them is financed by the government. And they don't have no expectation at all for these programs. They just funded them. Don't care what happened. So he goes on to say, he says, list any defect of these so-called black economic projects, and I can show you that the nation's economic program has less of it. Yet, the one most successful of black economic development projects is denied the funds and the recognition which a successful economic program deserves. Now this was real interesting what because he kept it real about the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. Because when I was first reading, I'm like, dang, he gonna say that about the paper. But he was keeping it real. He said, if I am required to prove the obvious, that Mr. Muhammad has some expertise in developing a business, let us look at Muhammad Speaks. My experience with this paper goes back to the early 1960s. Then it was a struggling paper of a few pages, poorly designed and poorly distributed. I was like, yo. I like the Muhammad Speaks, you know what I'm saying? But he was keeping it real, you know what I'm saying? Them old 1960s, I still love it. But he just trying to explain his point. Yeah. So he said, my experience with this paper goes back to the early 1960s. Then it was a struggling paper of a few pages, poorly designed and poorly distributed. When I first read a copy of Muhammad Speaks in the early 1960s, I would have bet that the next issue was not forthcoming. Today it is a healthy business enterprise in its own right. In many ways, it surpassed the major black newspapers. But this is not all. Working closely with young blacks in the Atlanta University Center and with other black colleges, I have observed the way in which the ideas expressed in Muhammad Speaks are a part of the lifestyle of the young black students. If I were asked to name the single most influential system of thought now making the rounds among black undergraduates, I would point to the nation as the source. That was all praise is due to. That was a business analyst of a successful black business. This brother said, when I first read them, there wasn't nothing. It was poorly designed, poorly distributed. But when you look at it now, though, if I look at all of these black students in these black colleges, Atlanta University and others, if I was to point to the main influential source of thought, he said it's the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. Because it says that the Muhammad Speaks describes their lifestyle. So this influential paper has changed their thoughts. That's why this brother looked up to the message. So he goes on to say, he says, since I profess to know expertise in broad philosophical matters, let me return to economics. For some time now, in an attempt to put black economic development on a saner and hopefully sounder base, I have tried to focus attention on the nation's economic program as a model which, if not followed, should at least be carefully studied. I have delivered lectures to various universities with essentially the same message. The Nation of Islam's economic program is one worthy of study even by those who with only an intellectual interest in black economic development. If my letter seems intemperate, I beg your indulgence. But as Mr. Lonnie something knows, it is pretty difficult to keep an even balance with so much plain old garbage being spilled by those who should know better. It says, sincerely yours, Robert C. Viles, Dean School of Business Administration, Atlanta University. This is what this man's saying about the messenger. Not only was he saying, you got other newspapers. This came out a year previous to him saying what he said about Nixon in 1971. This comes from the May 11th, 1970 Memphis Press. It says black Muslims have own style of capitalism. It rivals federal projects in size and success. So this article says, Muslims members run a variety of small businesses in Chicago and several scores of other cities with large black populations. In the majority of cases, the Muslims train and help finance their employees and business allies. The sex program of black capitalism appears to rival in size and success the minority enterprise program offered by the federal government. So even before this brother said something, it already was being noticed. So then you got another article. This one says, Black Muslims building financial empire. This comes from the Sunday Carrier and Press, May 10th, 1970. So this is what we must continue to realize today. That the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what he taught us came from Allah. Yes. It came from God in person. Yes, the messenger taught us that his job was to resurrect the mentally dead black man in America. Yes, that is exactly what he did. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us about Jesus. He said that stuff that's talking about Jesus in the Bible is not talking about the Jesus of 2,000 years ago. He taught us that the white man mixes up Jesus' history. He mixes up his history with the Mahdi. He mixes up Jesus' history with the last and greatest message. Because the messenger said that it talks about in the New Testament of Jesus. It talks about how Jesus resurrected the dead. But the white man makes us to think that that's talking about Jesus of 2,000 years ago resurrecting a physically dead person. The messenger taught us no physically dead person can rise from a physical death. He told us that death settles it all. So he said that the prophets saw the black man in such a dead, poor condition that they described it as us being like we was physically dead. So they called it the resurrection of the dead. Yes, sir. But the messenger taught us that he is the one who is resurrecting us from the dead. That's right. Not a physical death, but a mental resurrection. He told us that God only chose him. This is one of the most important things that we must know today. Because we have hypocrites and disbelievers teaming up with each other. Because the one thing that I can say about Lewis, that I appreciate him for, we actually can see a hypocrite. Straight up. We didn't live to see Malcolm. We didn't live to see Wallace and see them just totally tear down the message. But we see this hypocrite.
That's right.
And I'm telling you, I be so, sometimes when I see these hypocrites and how far they go, it kind of drain you a little bit because you be in such disbelief. You mean to say you can be friends with a people who after you get done sitting with them, they dog in the message. It's unbelievable. So when you see all this, it just drains you because you be in such disbelief and you get so angry. You get so angry because you be like, he a hypocrite. How can't the world see that Louis Farrakhan is a hypocrite?
Yes, sir.
Because the messenger told us that a hypocrite is worse than the enemy devil. Because look at Louis Farrakhan. Look at all that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did for him. Now, we, in this day, even his followers, we can't do for Louis Farrakhan what the messenger did for him. We wouldn't know about him if it wasn't for the messenger. Right. He wouldn't have the position he had if it wasn't for the messenger. But this brother can sit around and allow IUIC to come out with videos disrespecting the messenger, and this brother won't say a word. That's showing you what hypocrites will do to you. When you trust him, I can't even find the picture right here. You go. This is what IUIC can do to the messenger. The messenger is the one who made Farrakhan his national representative. The messenger is the one who taught him all that he knows. When that hypocrite called for the Million Man March, he wasn't telling you nothing that he thought. He was using the teachings of the messenger, even though it was just a little bit. Yes. He only took, and that showed you the power of the teachings of the messenger. Farrakhan was a well-seasoned hypocrite by 1995. I didn't even realize how much a hypocrite he was then as I do now. When I go back and listen to that Million Man March, he was never trying to represent the messenger. This hypocrite got 2 million black men who thought he was representing the messenger. If it was any time you see a hypocrite, that Million Man March Allah showed us. That's right. Because all the believers who was there, they said the messenger told Farrakhan. They say the messenger said you getting the fame so that when you turn hypocrite on me, the whole world will see you. Yes. That's what the messenger told this hypocrite to his face. When you turn hypocrite on me, the whole world will see you. So that Million Man March, whole world saw this hypocrite. Yes. This hypocrite had 2 million black men on a Tuesday. I remember the Million Man March. I was in high school. We didn't go to school. Me and my daddy watched. We watched it on beat. Every black man I knew. I was a Christian in the church, on the deacon board, singing in the choir. My daddy was a deacon, but we ain't go nowhere. We was watching the Million Man March. I knew brothers who went. That Million Man March was something else. So be listening to him now. Having all them brothers. He could have just came to the march and said, all y'all brothers, go to your local mosque and register and accept your own and be yourself. Yes. And just left. Yes. So go back home. If you want to know what to do, go back home and we're going to be on the satellite. Mm-hmm. Go back to your nearest mosque and register with your nation. That's right. But this hypocrite gonna tell 2 million brothers, go back and join the church. We was already in the church. Go back and join the NAACP. That's a hypocrite. He had the opportunity right then to have 2 million brothers in the nation. That's right. Any believer lost our mind. Yes. All this work you doing and you get 2 million brothers. Think about their girlfriends or their wives and their children and their friends. 2 million on a Tuesday. But the messenger said, you cannot be successful with a hypocrite on the panel. It don't make a difference if you got 2 million brothers listening to the hip. You cannot be successful with a hypocrite on the panel. And that's why we try so hard to continuously tell the people about the characteristics of hypocrites and disbelievers. Yes, sir. Because these black hypocrites and disbelievers, they hate Allah and his message. Yes. That hypocrite Louis Eugene showed the world. Now, I didn't realize it then, like I realize it now. He's showing the world he hate the message. He called them 2 million brothers to that mall just to turn them away from the message. We thought he was calling them there because he calling them there to turn. We always listening to him because we want to hear what he about to say. What he about to tell us. We was willing to do. Now, I'm a Christian. I knew I wasn't leaving the church. But I was willing to at least bargain with what he was saying. We didn't go to school. We didn't go nowhere. We want to hear what this brother say. Then we go away. Oh, I don't know about joining, but I definitely support. It was plenty of brothers that would have joined on the spot. Yes. But this hypocrite, messengers say they hate Allah and his message. Yes. Not only do they hate Allah and his messenger, they hate the believers. Yes. They hate you for belief. That's right. And this is why the brother said. He said the hypocrites get next to the new believers. Them 2 million brothers was the new believers. Yes. They get next to them. Put poison in them like a snake. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what Lewis did. He put poison in 2 million brothers like a snake. Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that the black Christian preacher is the worst enemy to the salvation of the black man. Yes. But he said, go back to the church. Go to the NAACP. Go vote. Yeah. That's a hypocrite. So the messenger said, he taught us that we as believers must know the characteristics of hypocrites and disbelievers. Yes, sir. Not only do we got to know they hypocrite, their characteristics. He said we must oppose them. Yes. He said we must watch them. That's one thing we don't do, in my conclusion, in the new school nation of Islam. Last week we don't fight no more. We don't watch hypocrites no more. We don't talk about them no more. You go to the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, Muslims used to say people's names. They called the name of Stokely. When they saw Stokely Carmichael saying anything, I remember one time, it was Margie Hassan, I believe. It was either Margie Hassan or Anna Kareem, one of the two. They was talking about Stokely. He was in an interview. And he was talking about how Islam is not an African religion. They started talking about how Islam is the nature of the black man. The whole planet Earth is the home of Islam. What you talking about? Them sisters used to get at them and them ministers. They would sit and listen to every black anything to see what you saying about the message. When Tony Brown's journal had that little thing that he had all these black leaders to come, when them brothers and sisters saw they didn't accept the message, they condemned every leader that was there. They didn't care nothing about all that old my black brother stuff. They believed as the messenger taught us. Yes. I am the one who Allah has chose with the divine solution for 50 million black people in America. Yes, sir. So if you don't accept him, you fuel for the fire. Right. Well, brothers and sisters, we don't want to prolong the time. So I leave you as I came in the nation of Islam's greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Enjoying the show? Help keep us on the air. 313-371-7033. That's 313-371-7033 to make a donation.
Brothers and sisters, we rise for prayer. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the beneficent, the merciful, sole master's day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, and thee alone seek for thine help and aid. O Allah, please guide us on the right path, path of those upon whom thou bestow thy favors, not on the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray after they heard thy teachings. Say he, Allah is one God. Allah is he of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten, there is none like him. And I bear witness that none is to be served, worship, or praised besides Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is thy true servant and last apostle. Ameen. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us not to do anything to anyone that we wouldn't have done it to ourselves, and treat everybody right, even the devil. Assalamu alaikum.